Show me the money.
All right, show me the money. Time for a Super Bowl betting special here on the podcast. We've already talked some bets earlier in the show with the great John Jastrzemski from WFAN. Now I'm going to be joined by SportsGrid's Kevin Walsh. Do some more betting talk. Kevin, how are you?
I am good, Mike. How are you, my friend?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited about this Super Bowl. Before we get there, though, I have to ask you about what's happening with your Eagles because obviously Doug Peterson's gone. Nick Sirianni's the coach. We have a quarterback controversy. What's going on down there, in your opinion?
Listen, I think I'd be getting paid a lot more money, Mike, if I knew the answer to that question. I have no idea what's going on down there, my friend. It feels messy. It feels messy, and I know a lot of people read into this Nick Sirianni hire. They go, oh, Frank Reich, this means Wentz is good. I don't know if this means Wentz is good. Maybe they think this is the guy for them, East Coast guy, under the age of 40. I think he kind of fits the brand of the guys that have been getting hired around the National Football League. And I'm sure that recommendation letter from Frank Reich didn't hurt his chances. But, man, I tell you, for me, I would be moving forward with Jalen Hurts. I would be trying to find a trade partner for Carson Wentz. I know that it's not easy with the cap situation, but that's going to be the case regardless. I'm trying to salvage a locker room that by the time that season came to an end was a complete disaster.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely threw their lot in with Wentz. I know that there's a good portion of that locker room that wanted Deuce Staley to be the coach, and they passed him over, and he's gone now. So I don't think that's going to go over too well.
No, I tend to agree. You can just tell, man, that every step here really just not great. And one of the most popular names of the coaching cycle, Eric Bieniemy. I think almost every single team, when they make a hire, Eric Bieniemy kind of gets now thrown into the mix. I mean, Mike, I think I've been talking to you for a while now. I wouldn't even be surprised the first time you and I have talked about Eric Bieniemy trying to get a job in the National Football League. But the Eagles, when you consider the success that they had with Doug Peterson, the similarities to Peterson to Eric Bieniemy in their trajectory through the Kansas City Chiefs organization, for them to not maybe make a stronger push for Bieniemy, and this thing seems like it came down to Nick Sirianni and Josh McDaniels. Just a frustrating process, and now puts a lot of difficult expectations on Sirianni and the quarterback room. I tell you this, Sirianni is not the answer. There are still significantly more questions that will need to be answered for this franchise before this next season will be getting underway.
Yeah, the one thing that definitely caught my eyebrow at the Sirianni thing was I read the report that apparently they called him for a Zoom interview when he's on vacation. He didn't have a suit on, so they actually just dressed casually, making him feel comfortable. That just feels A, very weird, and B, just indicative and indictment of what this hiring process around the league has become.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as if that's, I don't even know how stuff like that gets out. What is that supposed to make fans feel good? That, oh, hey, everything was casual? We all came up in flip-flops and T-shirts to figure out who's going to fix an organization that through the midway point of the season was minus money to win the division and then found a way to finish in last place? Or minus money to win that division, Mike, at the midway point and came in last. I mean, almost impossible.
Hey, it could be worse. Or it could be being run by a pastor and have a potential backup quarterback become the new head coach.
We don't have it the worst. I guess that's fair, but it is frustrating, man. I made the point on one show this past couple of weeks, when you get to talk about your team more often than not, it's supposed to be an enjoyable conversation, right? And at some point you get to kind of turn the page to some level of optimism, right? I'm sure at some point Jets fans are all right, man, we're going to figure out this quarterback situation. Something's gonna go right here. I know the fears of 0-16 were looming large at one point here. Man, I don't remember the last time I enjoyed breaking down this Eagles team. Maybe week 3, week 4. Man, it's just been ugly right now, man.
Yeah, it is. But one thing that's not ugly right now, we got a fantastic Super Bowl matchup between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. We have the GOAT battle between Brady and Mahomes. What's your first takeaway when you saw this matchup? You're I'm sure you had some thoughts.
Well, I think it's almost kind of. So I'm a big NBA fan, and we somehow never really got this equivalent in the NBA. There was a lot of years where we thought that LeBron would meet Kobe in the NBA Finals, and LeBron and those first Cavs teams weren't good enough. And by the time LeBron found his way to Miami, Kobe and the Lakers weren't good enough, and they kind of passed each other, right? Because they were the two dominant forces in the NBA at that point. We had another glimpse with LeBron versus Durant, but it was Durant in his infancy, and then he never made it back on his own merit. And people can disagree about the Warriors titles, but I mean, LeBron basically went 1-3 in a 4-game set with the Warriors, and his one title managed to matter significantly more. But we get pretty much the unquestioned GOAT at the quarterback position in Tom Brady up against the unquestioned best player in the league. But Mahomes already has big-time credentials. A season in which he threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns was eliminated by Tom Brady, maybe only because he didn't get the football. Overtime. He lost the coin toss, lost the game. Next year, right, he comes back and he still wins MVP in that first season. Next year, comes back, wins the Super Bowl, wins Super Bowl MVP. This is year 3 of Mahomes. He gets to meet Brady in his first season outside of the New England Patriots organization. I mean, there are storylines aplenty.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's get into some of the betting angles. This is sort of the theme of this episode as we come here. We sort of our Super Bowl betting here. And I'm referencing lines in the FanDuel Sportsbook as of recording here. They open with the Chiefs -3. It's basically fluctuated to 3.5 and 3. It really doesn't move much either direction. So what do you think about the line?
So I think all in all, you mentioned the fluctuation, right? Between that 3 and 3.5. And I was very surprised if we see any other number, unless there is a key injury that happens from now until the Super Bowl up here. I don't think because it opened at 3.5. That was the opening number, and those things were gone immediately. I mean, there were a couple of people that I work with over on the sports were like, "Oh yeah, we already had to take some bucks plus 3.5. You knew that was going to be gone," and it was gone. But man, I don't see a world in which this gets down to Kansas City only laying 2.5. That'll be gone right away. I mean, you won't be able. It might be a myth. Like, oh, the Chiefs were at 2.5 at one point. When? I didn't see it. Never was able to grab it. So it feels like we're going to move from 3 and 3.5, and it makes sense because these two teams, and I'm sure, Mike, you've talked about it a lot. They've already met this year. The difference between the cover was the hook or a push. The Chiefs laid 3.5 in that meeting, and Tampa Bay was able to get the cover by a hook.
Yeah, and it feels like this might be a separate prop bet here. Like, what are you more likely to get? A COVID vaccine point if you're eligible, or the hook on the Chief game?
Yeah, listen, it's a good question, man. I tell you, those hooks are so valuable when it comes to the point spread. You can just tell, though. You can really, really tell that they are. And with the Super Bowl, the biggest game in the world, it's going to be a valuable commodity if that 3.5 does come back. I don't think it'll be back for long.
Yeah, I don't either. I think the other interesting angle with the line with the factor in here is that Tampa Bay does have a home game for the first time in Super Bowl history. We have the home team at their home stadium. And do you think that this is going to get baked into any of the numbers here? Because I feel like definitely the fact that they're home is going to help them. But like I haven't seen a noticeable impact yet in terms of like betting numbers.
So it's so interesting. I think it's a great question, Mike. It's one that I can answer easily, but I don't know if I really know the full depth of the answer. I'll see if it makes sense as I kind of expand here. But this number of -3 is incredibly similar to when they met in the regular season in Tampa Bay. Again, just the difference being the hook, and the hook was initially there. So it just kind of got bet in a different manner. So to me, they're treating it the same way that first game in Tampa Bay. The depth of the question, and one that I feel like I still maybe don't know the answer, is just how much they valued home field advantage all year. If this game was being played in Minnesota, what's the number? Heck, if this game was being played in Arrowhead, what's the number? I've had a lot of conversations with people just trying to get a sense of how much does where this game is being played impact these lines. And Nobody seems to be able to give me a straight answer. All I can reference is the regular season matchup between them in Tampa Bay and say this is a similar line. So they're treating it the same way as that regular season game.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's also interesting you think about the fact that this game was not supposed to be in Tampa. It was supposed to be in Los Angeles, but then they had the weather delays at the stadium. And if the stadium had gotten together on time, like we would not have had fans in LA. It would have been a true neutral site. So it's interesting that it ended up working out this way.
Yeah, which would have been interesting. And I think the interesting thing is if you were going to be really moving the point spread based on a home field advantage, because travel is travel. But also, you just think about the people in the building. They've already talked about the health workers that are going to be there. I don't know if all of them are going to be true Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. Plus, everybody else, I mean, it'll be, what, a 50-50 split? Like, I don't think the Bucs are going to walk into that building, or I should say maybe, I guess the Chiefs won't walk into that building feeling as if they are in the depths of enemy territory the way you typically would expect when you travel to a team's stadium.
Yeah, that's true. I also want to look at the over and under for a bit because it opened 57.5. It's gone down a point to 56.5. It's kind of been stuck there for about a day as of recording time. So what do you think about that? I feel like the play here has to be the over.
Well, look, this is the tough trick here, right? So this is, again, similar number to when they first met. The Chiefs in that first game, they get up 17-0. They only scored 10 points after the first quarter because the game was pretty much over. And Tampa, they only managed 7 in the first half. So they were able to actually, put forward a little bit more firepower in half number 2, but it was almost this like, this game is over approach. I wonder if the Chiefs were able to get up to a similar degree. Now, 17-0 is extreme, but let's just say it is 17-7, right? Or maybe it's 24-14, Chiefs have the football. I mean, are these guys pedal to the metal here? Are the Chiefs, though, willing to settle for field goals, or are they telling themselves it needs to be touchdowns on the first drive, the second drive, the 5th drive, the 8th drive, the 12th drive? You know what I mean? Like, that's really, I think, the difference maker in this total. If you think the Chiefs are willing to kick field goals and play defense deeper into the game, not immediately, they'll score touchdowns to start, but deeper into the game, you might just fall below, similar to that first meeting that only had 51 points put on the board. But I tend to agree. I think the Chiefs will go, and I think the Bucs at no point will tap out, right? Like, if they need to put up a garbage time touchdown to kind of salvage the reputation and let Brady see one more go in the basket, I think that's what they're going to try and do. So I tend to lean to the over as well.
Yeah, plus Tampa is watching that game film in Buffalo where they kept settling for the field goals and the Chiefs ran out the building. And they're going to say, hey, we have to be aggressive. We have to go for as often as we can. So I think they're going to be going for 7s more than 3s far more often than not.
Yeah, it would be nice if Sean McDermott could hop in a time machine and watch the tape as well and be like, wow, that was a horrendous decision by me. And honestly, I was on the Chiefs in the game. I like the Chiefs in the game for a number of reasons, but I just feel bad for, even Bills fans and Bills backers. Like, you couldn't have imagined that team who had been aggressive all year long would go up against the Kansas City Chiefs and think, yeah, we'll make a 2-possession game a 2-possession game. And then he did it twice. He did it twice, Mike.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. Certainly not the worst coaching decision of championship weekend, but wasn't good.
No, it wasn't good. Another thing that's not good here, there's no value on the money line. They're so tight, these margins here. I mean, has it even worth your time to put the money line?
So in the world in which the money line is valued is, I think, if you just say to yourself, you know what, I'm not dealing with a missed extra point. That's what we've seen all year long, right? I mean, how about Tyler Bass checking in, right? The reason why the Chiefs at no point were down double digits is simply just because Tyler Bass, who made 2 51-yard field goals in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs, missed an extra point. So the world in which you play money line on Kansas City, and I know minus 176 might feel a little high, but to get off of a field goal, you're no longer dealing with a push, you're just asking your team to win. And if minus 176 feels high, just make one less bet. Make one less bet. If we view every bet as, say, a minus 110, which, by the way, the Chiefs minus 3 is not minus 110, but if we view every bet as minus 110, just make one less bet. You can now pay minus 176 for Chiefs money line.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. I did not think of that. That's a good angle of doing it. And we'll have some fun. Obviously, the Super Bowl is fun with the props. And the prop bets make it fun. There's two categories. There's the game-related one, about stuff that's happening in the game, and the stuff that's outside of the game, which is all your Gatorade colors, the coin flip, Joe Biden, all that fun stuff. So we'll have some fun here. We'll give you guys some prop bets to do here. So Kevin and I are going to do a 3-round prop bet draft, and because I wanted an excuse to play the NFL picks music because there's no picks this week. So I'm going to get that up here. And Kevin, since you are the guest here, which prop bet do you want to pick first?
Wow, what a distinct honor. I would be hard-pressed not to take a look at Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns. He threw for 3 passing touchdowns in that game where they met in Tampa Bay. Mahomes has that ability to just pour it on. He threw for 3 against Buffalo. Feels like he could have thrown for 1,000 against Cleveland had he not been injured in the game. I think over 2.5 for Mahomes is a nice first pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick to start off with. I'm going to go to Tampa Bay here for a minute. I'm going to take Rob Gronkowski as an anytime touchdown scorer at plus 220 on FanDuel right now. Because I feel like this is a game where, they're going to try and take away the outside weapons, your Mike Evans, your Antonio Browns. And the Chiefs giving up 10 touchdowns on the year, the tight ends, including 7 after their bye. So I can see a Gronk spike in the middle of the game, get in the end zone once, a 3-yard touchdown run. I like that play call. Plus, again, familiarity with Brady in a big spot. It'd be a nice security blanket there. I like the plus 220 on Gronk getting a touchdown.
Yeah, I like the plus money. Cameron Brate has been involved more than I would have thought, but I understand the plus money played there. For a second pick, though, Mike, I want to make sure I get both teams, and then I'll hit some plus money on my third-round pick. I'll bring Chris Godwin's over 73.5 receiving yards into the fold. Again, this is a number that he cleared in that initial meeting with 97 points. He's cleared it in 2 of these 3 postseason games. 4 of his last 5 games he's gone over this number. He's clearly Brady's favorite weapon on this team. He's like the first receiver I've ever seen Brady forgive for dropping passes. It's incredible. He loves Godwin. I think over 73.5 is very live.
Yeah, I like that one too. I'm going to go for a big shot here. And I know the odds of this hitting are not great, but there's the argument made here. Give me the MVP prop on Tyreek Hill at plus 1,400 on FanDuel, because remember what happened in Week 12. He had a monster game down there. He had 13 catches, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns. I figure they'll make a better effort to contain him, but his speed makes him so dynamic. It gives you like a 10, 150, 2-score effort here. He can sneak in that MVP category, and he give you a lot of money if he comes through.
I think it's a great selection. It's a great selection. It's one that I was advising people to make actually on the early line. But a little bit of draft strategy for me, I was willing to take 2 guys in this market. And you took probably the preferred option, but there's really no such thing as a consolation prize when it comes to Travis Kelce in this market at 15-1, little bit longer odds. I mean, Travis Kelce would have won MVP possibly of the game against the Buffalo Bills, 13 catches, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 3 total touchdowns in this postseason. Last year in the Super Bowl, got into the end zone. I mean, you want to, it's a little bit minus money, but I want to get a buck. I mean, Travis Kelce is going to score a touchdown in this football game, about minus 160. It's going to happen. You want a big shot there, Kelce to win MVP? I think we could have the market cornered, Mike. I like Kelce at 15-1.
Yeah, that's a good pick as well. And for my last pick here, I'm going to go to the winning margin here. I like that prop here because I feel strong the Chiefs are going to win the football game. And the spread is not tremendous value there, but you have 2 options here. You have the 1-6 spread, I think plus 330 on FanDuel, and 7-12 point spread plus 490 on FanDuel. And those are ones you feel like, okay, the Chiefs are going to do well in this game. They end up winning by a touchdown. You get a nice payout there. I'm going to take the winning margin for the Chiefs as my last prop bet.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm on the Chiefs as well, Mike. So I think it's a good call.
All right, so those are some good prop bets we had here, and those are the ones on the game-related stuff. In terms of the non-game-related stuff, what are some ones that you think are just fun?
Oh, look, there's so many wacky props out there, man. I had a buddy last year who told me he was betting an over/under on J-Lo outfit changes when she was doing the halftime show. And he sent me a video. He was with people, and they were going nuts, screaming, that's three, because she had changed the outfit for the third time. I'll tell you the one, I can't believe it has a betting trend, but I'll give him credit. One of my favorite colleagues from SportsGrid, Gabe Morency, always talks about this. I believe Tails is 6-1 in the last 7 Super Bowls. And last year he was on Tails and he was screaming. He's like, let's go. He's very open about how much he bets. He goes, let's go. I'm already up $200 and nobody's even touched the football yet. You know what I mean? Like he was so jazzed up. I have like this like scary feeling about it because it's like, man, can it really hit that many times in a row? But you got to think, Mike, how many people been betting heads year in and year out thinking to themselves, oh, it can't come up tails again. So I would be eerie of the coin toss market. It keeps finding its way to tails.
Yeah, tails never fails.
So yeah, I guess that's why the saying is the saying. Mike, if you'll allow me, if you have a moment here, I wanted to quickly leave you with a stat.
Sure.
Because I heard you say you're on the Chiefs, and I'm sure you're going to be talking to a ton of people about this game, and they're going to give you their picks and analysis. And I think there's a pretty good chance there are some people that tell you, oh, the Chiefs have flipped the switch. The Chiefs have flipped the switch. I tend to think that's not the case. The Kansas City Chiefs this year, Mike, have played 7 games versus a team that has an above 500 record. 7 games versus a team that has an above 500 record. Guess how many of those games they have held a fourth quarter lead of double digits or better?
I'm going to say 1.
Every single one of them.
Wow.
Every single one of those games, they were up double digits in the fourth quarter. They've been getting backdoored. The game's been over. They've been running the clock out. The Bucs backdoored them. That's how they covered. The Dolphins backdoored them. Like, that's what I think people, when they come here to the window on the Tampa Bay Bucs, you're betting a backdoor. That's what they did the first go-around. That's what they're going to be looking to do the next go-around. The Chiefs have punted once with Patrick Mahomes leading the offense. It was the first drive of the game against the Buffalo Bills, and it was because Tyreek Hill dropped a 40-yard pass that would have put them in scoring territory. This team hasn't flipped the switch. They've been the best team all year long, and they've been backdoored a couple of times. Okay, so what? They're on a mission, and they're the absolute best in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point. Let me give you some of my fun props here. I want to get your take on some of these, see what you think, because I think some of these are going to end up being funny. Obviously, I'm going to be on the Gatorade color. I'm betting the red. I feel like both teams have a red Gatorade. That's one.
I like that. It's a good call. That feels like a good... I'll tell you, though, there was a big move last year. Like, it got out purple Gatorade. It got out. There was this crazy move to purple Gatorade. It was a big talk in the betting community. So watch. I like your early position on red, but there's going to be some weird movement that'll happen, around mid next week. Somebody heard something that it's yellow. Don't be scared to follow the move.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's one I like. In terms of the people getting shown, how many times does Giselle is shown on the screen is going to be funny. I think that'll be hilarious to watch.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorites, just from a playoff game, there was a playoff game, I think, once the Texans played in, and J.J. Watt wasn't healthy. And people on Twitter were like, you think they'll show him after every play? And I mean, it literally felt like they showed J.J. Watt after every single play. So it's always funny when they key in on someone. I definitely think you could see Giselle plenty with Tom Brady, because either it could be going great, or they'll start bringing her up saying that Giselle would love for Tom to retire. Hey, do you think this will be Tom's last game ever? And they'll say that positively or negatively. Yeah,
I also like the cross-sport bets. I know you're a big NBA guy. How about Knicks threes on February 7th versus the number of carries Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets?
I think these are some of the coolest bets in the world, man.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I mean, you're going to have to break it down day of. You're going to have to get your ins and outs, but it is, and that's the thing about the Super Bowl, man. as much as people are like, oh, you don't just show up to bet the Super Bowl. It's a grind year in, year out. Man, people show up to bet the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl, right? And you want to get creative with it because you said it earlier here when we were talking, like, these lines are sharp. These guys know what they're doing. They've been doing it all year long. They've been making money all year long. So you want to get creative. So, yeah, Nick's making more threes than CEH carries. Sure, get after it. Texas Tech second half points versus Kansas City Chiefs total points. Have a blast. I think stuff like this is always incredible.
Yeah, I have another fun one. I think you'll get a laugh out of this one because you have to wait until May to pay out on this, but I think it's actually pretty funny. This is the Travis Kelce catches in the Super Bowl versus the number of the winning horse in the Kentucky Derby.
I'm not mad at that though. I actually love that.
Yeah.
Because you're automatically in the Kentucky Derby now.
Yeah.
No matter how many catches he has, you walk into the Kentucky Derby with a position. I think that's a treat. I think it's a great call, Mike.
I love that bet because, the Derby's 20 horse fields usually, and if he has 7 catches, you have and you take the horses, you have a 20%, 65% chance to win that bet.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great call.
Yeah,
I think it's a great call.
It won't get a lot of play because people are not going to want to wait until May to get their payout, but I think it's a great value.
Yeah, you just stick a little something to the side. Don't go crazy on it, but it gives you a little position right in the Kentucky Derby. What more could you ask?
Yeah, drop a 20 on it. That's the way I would do it.
Yeah, I think it's a good call.
All right, Kevin. Thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I'm people follow social media and keep up what you're doing over at SportsGrid.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at @TheKevinWalsh. On SportsGrid, mornings, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. East Coast time till 9 a.m., doing the early line. And then at nights from 9 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Thursday, in-game live, plus some weekend work as well over on SportsGrid. Make sure you check us out over there. Doing a lot of great stuff. I'm going to have you covered wire to wire on the Super Bowl. I'll be part of in-game live, the Super Bowl coverage there. So make sure everybody check it out.
Yeah, it will be a lot of fun, Kev. Thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike. Always a blast, man. Be good.